Okay, so I'm making a video to prove basically the biggest scandal in Wizards of the Coast history. Now, what I'm saying here is a very extraordinary claim, but I can prove it. And if you stay with me throughout this video, I will do so. I will prove it. I can prove it here, and the proof is here, not beyond a slight doubt or reasonable doubt, beyond any doubt. 100% proof. Um, the only issue is you have to stay with me throughout the video. If you just skip around through it and just kind of try and catch a quick gist of it, like the reality is I think you're gonna miss important pieces of the puzzle. Um, so it's very important that you stay with me and just really give it a chance. Sorry for the crappy room. I'm in a library right now, but whatever. But anyway, like if someone had told you that the state of Wisconsin framed two innocent people for murder in order to prevent a 30-something million dollar lawsuit, and this happened in the 21st century, not some really long time ago, you probably would have said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." And once you watch the Making a Murder documentary, you believe it. So it's a great example that like a lot of times there's corruption, but it can sound tough to believe to the average citizen at first. But if you really give it a chance, you can realize later that they were telling the truth. And I have theories about that of my own, like, that because the media doesn't report on scandals when they happen, usually the average citizen then doesn't have accurate, like, a flow of information where they understand how often stuff goes on and what happens when it does go on. So I blame the media, I blame the people who commit scandals. It's a whole thing. I have theories about it of my own. But anyway, so what I'm going to prove to you here is that Wizards of the Coast was printing cards with harassment on them towards a specific player in order to harass them out of the community, to harass them out of the game, to get them to stop playing. And they were the same stuff they were printing was propaganda towards the gaming community around that player in order to make people think something different than what actually occurred, and to really demonize the person. Now, who's this person? It's me, David Jesse Brown. They were printing cards with harassment on them. I know you're saying, "Oh, I don't know." Hear me out. Honestly, give me a chance. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a scandal at Washington State University that I was the victim of. And this is why they were doing it. They were basically working with WSU or the government to attack me because I'm a scandal victim. The government wants to cover up what happened. So basically, I believe Wizards of the Coast was bribed into doing this. But again, stay with me. I understand these are bold claims, but I want to walk you through the WSU scandal that I'm a victim of. I'm the victim of the biggest Washington State University scandal anyone I've ever met has ever heard of. So I'm going to walk you through how you know that it was a racist frame at Washington State University. And this connects to the Magic card stuff, but I have to explain my life and explain what they were printing, like imagery, innuendo on the cards, little messages, things like that. I need to explain to you my past so you know why they were doing this and you know what the pieces of the puzzle mean. Please don't skip forward, skip through stuff. I understand this is a long video, but you have to stay with me. You have to give it a chance. And I promise you, by the end of this, you will understand that Wizards of the Coast, this is the biggest scandal Wizards of the Coast has ever committed. Now, let's talk about the WSU racist frame. I was framed at WSU when I was in the WSU MBA program. And one of here's some points how you know it was a frame. And there's all sorts of other material I have, my other YouTube videos, my Facebook account, facebook.com/David Jesse Brown. Jesse is Jesse. look me up. There's all kinds of stuff. You can add me on Facebook. But there's all kinds of stuff, and I'll also reiterate stuff here, and I'll give you more information and stuff so you understand. But anyway, not a single writing that was used in my WSU case was submitted through the student conduct web form. Now, that was the proper reporting procedure, the web form, and they deliberately used emails and other unsworn writings so they could lie. There were not any police reports involved in my student conduct trial. Even one of the students, Ashley Fagerly, she basically changed her name. Like, if you Google WSU Ashley Fagerly, you'll find the case, the federal lawsuit that I filed against her. I'm trying to center myself, but it's all good. I can fix it in editing. Basically, if you Google WSU Ashley Fagerly, you'll find that there's all this stuff that comes up from her and the federal lawsuit I filed against her for her helping framing me. And Ashley basically started using a different name online. As you can see on the screen here, she goes by different names. Now, I understand I found some old Twitter records where she was going by Ashley Alice, but I think she was kind of maybe alternating between the two. And then when it was Googleable, Ashley Fagerly was Googleable for the frame stuff, she just permanently kind of switched over to Ashley Alice, so no one could find her in search results. So her new name, people wouldn't know that she framed an innocent man before. So a lot of times I call her Ashley Schnrud. But anyway, okay. There were not any police reports involved in the trial. They didn't even have a police report number, a case number in the student conduct file. And even Ashley Fagerly claimed she filed a police report. And I requested the police reports. They refused to provide them. Whoa, skipping ahead. Okay. WSU did not allow a recording of the lecture at issue in the student conduct trial to be played at the student conduct trial, and they never provided a reason as to why that evidence was suppressed. There's more information there. I'm trying to, go kind of quick so I don't bore people, but you can always read the other stuff. The jury for the student conduct trial was not complete. They were missing a juror, and they held the trial anyway, and they didn't say anything. They just held it anyway. Which was totally inappropriate. I was found guilty of creating an ongoing disruption in my MBA classes, but WSU didn't bring a single professor forward to testify. There was a variety of missing student witnesses that were relevant. There were a variety of missing student witnesses that were relevant to there were a variety of missing student witnesses that were relevant witnesses for WSU's theory of the case. And I showed some names there. So basically, missing witnesses in a trial is a big deal. There was a fucking plethora of missing witnesses in my case. Cheryl Oliver, the WSU program advisor, claimed to have witnessed a plethora of events, yet WSU did not bring her forward to testify. And this is funny because they held the trial on a Thursday in Pullman, and they claimed that she was out of town. And this is funny if you know Pullman, because Pullman's a small college town out in the middle of nowhere. It is very rare that she could be, that anyone is out of town, actually, because it's a small college town out in the middle of fucking nowhere. But even if she was out of town, I mentioned this in the Making a Disruptor documentary, which I have on Facebook. I mentioned this before, that even if they arranged for her to be out of town, they obviously arranged for her to be, they did it on purpose. It's not like she just happened to, I was in Colfax or Spokane that night or Moscow. It's it was just fucking ridiculous. They obviously just kept her out on purpose. So Todd 109, and I'm sorry if this is taking too long. I know you want to get to the magic cards, but we have to go through this. Todd 109 was the official MBA classroom. The majority of our classes took place in that room. That room had a video camera in it. There was absolutely no video evidence presented at trial, even though there were several allegations made by others against me of physical acts that would be against the rules if true. Even the touch on Ashley Fagerly's shoulder was in front of that camera. Think about that. Like they claim stuff happened in front of a camera, and I'm sitting there like, okay, well, where's your camera evidence then? And they refuse to show any of it. And to this day, they've never released a single bit of it. Not at the trial, not anywhere. Okay. The chair of the Student Conduct Board, Lisa McIntyre, did not ask the majority of my cross-examination questions. She even reworded my questions that she actually did ask, and she reworded them to prevent me from being exonerated. And WSU destroyed the records of my written cross-examination questions after the trial, and they did so without my knowledge or consent. Now, very interesting, and I'll get into this more in a bit. Lisa McIntyre was the judge for Robert Barber's trial that happened like 5 years or 6 years after mine. And he also, not only did he get that same lady for his trial, his corrupt trial, but also Danielle Hess was involved in his case. And that was the lawyer who worked for the Attorney General's office at WSU who handled my stuff. She was orchestrating my racist frame, just like Robert Barber's. And Lisa McIntyre was the judge for his racist case, just like Lisa McIntyre was the judge for my racist case. Like, look up WSU Robert Barber. The same names appear in both cases. WSU, and they did this to Robert Barber too. WSU made me leave the room when Ashley Fagerly, also known as Ashley Alice Fagerly, testified against me. I did not hear any of Ashley Fagerly's testimony through the phone. It didn't start working until it was during cross-examination, which, they limited my questions and reworded shit again. And this is funny. WSU made up a non-existent person called Dr. Yoshi. Now, of course, there's Dr. Yoshis in the world, and I think there is a Dr. Yoshi who works in some other sector of WSU. But what they were doing was there was a WSU administrative employee named Yoshio Smith. And he was one of the people who ran the MBA program, Yoshio Smith. And KD Joshi was the professor of MIS 580, which was the class where I said something there that wasn't against the rules, but they trespassed me from the whole fucking university. She was Dr. KD Joshi was the teacher of the professor of that class. KD Joshi, Yoshio Smith. And what they did was they pretended they never spoke to the professor, and they conflated the identities of those two individuals, Dr. Yoshi, KD Joshi, and ultimately it's like they were making up a fake person in order to pretend that they never spoke to the professor of the class, so as, to pretend like, oh, we didn't even know that, you had a recording that we didn't allow to play the trial. Oh, we didn't even know what you actually said. We didn't even talk to the professor. We didn't know that, you were saying one thing, other students were saying different. Oh, we didn't even talk to the professor. They were pretending they didn't even talk to the professor, basically. They were pretending they didn't know what was going on. So another one, WSU not only put the wrong address on the trespass admonition, but WSU police also did not sign, date, or otherwise fill out the document before they served it to me, or as they served it to me. So they were trying to cover up why I didn't have the signed shit. It's because they could lie later saying, oh, we must have sent it to the wrong thing. But that's why the wrong address was on that trespass admonition. It wasn't the only time they had the wrong address and shit. They were doing that on purpose. David Sprott's final warning document was ostensibly created on March 10th, 2010, yet was not actually sent to me till March 19th, 2010. And he probably did that in order to push the matter past the deadline to withdraw from classes. Now remember, these are the people who want you to trust them. They, imagine pushing a case, even if it wasn't a frame, pushing a case past the deadline to withdraw just to fuck over a student. I would argue the whole case should just be thrown out, even if the person was guilty. I would argue that they should have their case thrown out, because that is fucking crazy. And they did not only that, they did a billion fucking illegal things to me. And the media refuses to report it. And I've even made a video about this, how I send them shit and they refuse to report it. They don't even say anything back as to why they're not reporting it. That's what's so, the fact that they don't report it, if they were saying anything as to why they wouldn't report it, that'd be different. But they refuse to give a statement as to why they won't report it, because they're just doing it as a corrupt favor. WSU altered the purpose of the case after the trial was already over. I talked about this in the Making a Disruptor documentary. I've talked about this before on, Facebook, I guess in a video on Facebook. I didn't put that video on YouTube. I have other videos on YouTube, but you know, I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time on these points. I want to get to the magic cards so I don't bore people. But basically, they charged me under one theory, then they changed their story after the trial was already over to say the failure to comply was completely fucking different. Roger Sandberg, the Pullman lawyer that was representing me, wrote a petition for review for Whitman County Superior Court, but he filed it late on purpose in order to prevent the case from entering the justice system. That's pretty obvious. That's why he filed it late, to cover it up. The exonerating posts were made in 2016. WSU and or the WSU MBAs have never come forward to deny anything that I stated. The validity of the evidence has never once been disputed. The people I accused have never once publicly denied what I have stated / showed. Many of them, including David Sprott and Kathryn Esselbach, or Kate Gwinn, and her husband, Kevin Gwinn, have pretended to stop using Facebook in order to be able to lie later, saying they never saw any of my exoneration material to prove their guilt. And that's fucking hilarious. If you look up, you know, Kate Gwinn or Kathryn Esselbach, or you look up David Sprott, they clearly stopped using Facebook like right before the Making a Disruptor documentary came out. Basically what they were doing was, once it got released, they said, okay, let's pretend to stop using Facebook. And then people will think, oh, we stopped using it right before. Like, just look it up. You'll know what I mean. Okay. Now this is where we get crazy, my dudes. This is where we get crazy. Okay, this is where it starts getting to be the undeniable crazy proof that I'm talking about here. The June 2016 LSAT, the LSAT, the law school admission test, the June 2016 LSAT, which is the one I took, was tampered with to contain harassment. Again, before you just say, oh, yeah, right, listen to this. I'm going to prove it to you. LSATs are publicly available permanent records. In other words, once an LSAT, you know, is given, it's like people haven't seen the questions before, unless any of the questions were tested on the experimental section, which is a part where they, you know, sneak into the previous LSATs to see how questions work. But any LSAT, like where what people call practice tests, they're past LSATs. Like I studied dozens and dozens of practice tests. Everybody does who studies for the LSAT. They're previous LSATs. There's 4 times a year they give the LSAT. And I took the June 2016 one, and they included, which was a national standardized test, they included harassment in them. And you can look this up. This is a publicly available thing. But I'm going to show you the questions in a moment. The 2011 federal lawsuit contained exhibits that showed the 5-page decision letter containing the made-up Dr. Yoshi name. Dr. Grimes, was the last name of the dean of WSU's graduate school, and there was a question that involved a legal department / lawyer, and the name Grimes, and you'll see Yoshio in a question. The LSAT was even held in a specific room to harass me. Now look at this video of the email change of the room. They were changing the room to building 29, room 1508. About 50 other people took the same LSAT in the same room, and they can testify to that being the room. So somewhere on this earth, 50 people are out there who took that same LSAT with me. There must have been around 50 people in that room when I took it. It was building 29 because the 2.9 GPA WSU gave me to put me on academic probation to be able to fire me and hire a German person for my job and harass a Jew in front of everybody like, oh, you lost your job. Then they were harassing me over that. And 150808, the number of Uden on the IBM Hollow Earth punch cards, 8 of 12. Same reason the trial was held on the 8th and the decision letter came out on the 12th because they were making subtle like jokes about me being Jewish.
Now, this is a typical prisoner card. There are little boxes where all the information is to be punched in. We compare this information to the code sheet for concentration camps. And here you see Auschwitz is 1, Buchenwald 2, Dachau is 3. Now, what kinds of prisoners were they? They could be a Jehovah's Witness for 2, a homosexual for 3, communist for 6, or a Jew would be 8. Now, what was their status? 1 was released, 2 was transferred, 4 was executed, 5 was suicide, and 6. Code 6, Sonderbehandlung, special treatment, meant the gas chamber or sometimes a bullet. They would punch that number in, the material was tabulated, the machines were set, and of course, the punch cards, by the millions, had to be printed, and they were printed exclusively by IBM, and the profits were recovered just after the war.
And also, some people may theorize, well, wasn't that the license plate number? It was like, God, what was it? It was like 40112, or it was something like that. A license plate number in the movie Psycho that was sinking in the mud. That Norman Bates, like, he kills a girl and buries her car, and on the license plate it was like the same thing. But I think basically WSU had a strategy where they were like going to say that instead of it ever getting caught. It was like a backup strategy in case they ever got caught. They could just say, oh no, it was from Psycho, because we were making them look psychotic. But it's basically a backup strategy in case their anti-Semitic stuff ever gets caught, their neo-Nazi stuff ever gets caught. So before you think that Psycho thing, and oh yeah, and I just put another YouTube video up talking about or not talking about it, but showing the lecture in a way where I'm stating in writing what the innuendos were that the professor and other students were saying on April 1st. You can go look that up. But anyway, okay. 15, they often use 1.5 to show like I only got half of the year to get the tuition waiving job, which takes off around half of your tuition, like after you count the tuition waiver as well as the $10 per hour you make. But anyway, building 29, room 1508. I'm going to show you the test ticket to show it was in that room, but you also just saw the email of them changing the room, which is when they were fucking changing it to that room as a favor, because before it was probably originally scheduled in some generic room. Anyway, okay. I hope I'm not boring anybody. I'm going to zoom in. Oh, crap. I'm going to zoom in. What the frick? See, I'm down to swear. Dude, fuck this. What the? Okay. You can probably see that. Okay. So here was the question. Again, this is the June 2016 LSAT. If you don't think this is the LSAT doc, this is all over the fucking nation. You can look up that this is the LSAT. You can look these questions up. This is public record. People are studying this right now as they're studying to take the next LSAT, or maybe they're scheduled to take one later than that. But this is the real question from the June 2016 LSAT. It's public record. You can see in this one, this is the Yoshio one. They put the name Yoshio in there just to be like a fuck you towards me. Now I'm gonna try and zoom in. Whoa. Let's see. This probably still kind of is slightly blurry to you, but you can read what it is. You can tell what it is. And you can also look this up. But I mean, you can tell enough, I think, here. And basically what this was a reading comprehension section where like they it was about jury nullifications, which is about like a jury not giving a fuck. Like, yeah, this person's guilty, but we don't give a shit. Who cares what they did? We'll let him off the hook, just like the WC MBAs. Like David Sprott is a Nazi psychologist. He's a guy who studied psychology, and he wants to make people. He uses a lot of things. Like I think he uses humor, and I know he uses humor to try and make people think the frame doesn't matter, the scandal didn't matter. He tries to distract people with a lot of tactics. And anyway, like jury nullification is about, there was something illegal that went on, but we don't care. We even maybe believe in it. But jury nullification is like they don't give a shit, basically. Here is the What the fuck? Okay. See, there's those swear. It seems so dumb to swear. The Columbine shooter said frick, so get off me, dog. But like the company president says that significant procedural changes were made before whatever. But this is the one about the fucking Grimes name and the legal department, the lawyer thing. So they put in Grimes. Grimes was the dean. Howard Grimes was the dean of the WSU Graduate School when the frame happened. So they were including this shit. And here's where it happened. It was Shoreline Community College, Building 29, like the 2.9 GPA they gave me in fall 2009 to put me on academic probation. And they need to put you on academic probation to be able to fire you from your assistantship. And that's what they did. They fired me from my graduate assistantship at the midpoint of the year. I didn't know that because they weren't telling me. I didn't know that like your graduate assistantships last for the whole year as a contract. They can't fire you unless you like break some specific rule there or they I mean, I guess if you were just so bad at your job, they could fire you. But I mean, they can't just on a whim let you go. Like, they need to, or the exception is that if you're on academic probation, they could say we could fire you. And obviously, the ostensible reason there is you should focus on your studies. You can't handle this or something. But they gave me bad grades on purpose. I've already talked about this before. I have recordings of them, professors joking about it and shit. So I have them talking about undeserved bad grades already. Not to mention, look at all the shit they do. They were obviously giving me bad grades on purpose. Here is the $0 settlement that WSU offered. It's the only settlement that WSU ever offered. Let's see. Why does it move like that? Zooming on in, moving to the left. Okay, so here it is. Basically, they were offering me nothing. And they were just like, yeah, we'll remove it from the record if you sign this, but you don't get shit. And boy, am I glad I never signed that. I think some people probably do sign this. Like, they just think, okay, here's like, a way out, shit like that. So I don't know. I think some people probably do sign those. And some people I think who find out about me would think, man, I would have signed it or something. I never wanted to sign it because I would rather even try to represent myself and just go for it than take a fucking bullshit settlement. Especially with these people, like I don't think you should take a settlement personally. Like I don't know, I might have taken one if it was like 10 million fucking dollars or something, just enough to where it's like they would still be mega deterred from doing it. But if it had something in there like I don't know, I could never talk about it or something, I might not even take it because it's like it's pretty fucked up to take money and just leave racists working at school. Like I honestly couldn't see myself doing that. I wouldn't do that. But like if there was some way, and there's all kinds of settlements, there's some kind of way to fuck them up on money and still get justice, which the money kind of does do justice, I think, actually. But on top of that, more justice. Like I might have taken that, but they would really need to get fucked up on the settlement. Like, but they only offered me a $0 settlement. Okay, where are we? What the fuck? This skipped. I feel like it skipped down hella. There we are. Okay. Okay. So please watch my other YouTube videos and go to facebook.com/David Jesse Brown for more information. Assuming my Facebook account doesn't get taken down, Fake Snitching Gang is mass reporting every post they can to take the account down and cover up my exoneration. Many of the taken down posts were not even in violation of the rules. Look through my Facebook account, my Facebook account's album photos. You will find many documents. And you can look in videos for the video. Search for a post containing search for a post of mine containing, yeah, you would think I would have been smart to bring fucking water in here. Search for a post of mine containing that text in italics there and quotes. Like you could do a quoted search, you'll find shit. Again, search for another post with this quoted text. I would recommend like looking up to here with the quoted text, because the rest of it should have like spaces between it, and like it could throw off the search because I just kind of moved these up. But this is all in that post. It's just I just kind of moved them up. Like Let me show you. Like there's technically spaces here. So if you did a quoted search on that, it might throw off the search. I would look for from here up and you'll find this post. Now, anyway, jeez, dude. Okay. Here are, oh gosh, gotta fucking zoom in again. Okay, here are the declarations posted on my Facebook account. I accidentally had the second marker, whatever the fuck, left in the links, but I challenge anyone on earth to claim that that would affect the validity of the declarations. It was just an accident. And that's the honest truth. It was just a fucking accident. But I honestly, I don't think that would affect the validity. And I challenge anyone to say it affects the validity of those documents. Like just because it links to a specific time, I'm clearly referring to the videos. And there was nothing in the other shit that's verified by these declarations. Like only the YouTube videos, but all the shit I stated on Facebook and the video on Facebook was done without an accident. So you couldn't say anything to those. But even these, just because it links to a certain time, that wouldn't get you off of a perjury charge just because it links to a specific time. You're clearly referring to that video and that entire video. Yeah, look, see, but I'm just waiting for fake snitching gang to act like that matters when it obviously doesn't. There's no lawyer on earth who would argue that would matter. But anyway, so I'm scrolling through, showing you them. Let's go to the next one. Whoops, there we go. Just showing them to you. You can pause, read. Again, we've already gone 30 minutes, 38 seconds. So I'm trying to hurry up and get to these magic cards because a lot of people probably want to, get this information without anything that they would see as boring. Okay, there I go. There we go. So, trying to move fast. Okay. Robert Barber's 2016 controversial WSU case involved WSU admitting that they destroyed his cross-examination records. You can easily Google that. I claimed under penalty of perjury in my 2011 federal lawsuit complaint that WSU destroyed my cross-examination records. So obviously, it happened to me too, is what I'm getting at there. Kathryn Esselbach's and others' President's Honor Roll records are easy to find when Googling her name. I was on the WSU President's Honor Roll for at least 2 semesters. And, okay, I'll come back to that in a moment. But those records cannot be found in Google search results. If WSU alters that after seeing this video, don't blame me. Here's a video of the semesters I got on WSU's President's Honor Roll. Now, technically, I was looking at these grades and when I was making the video, I was like, oh, was I on there for 3 semesters? I remember specifically there was at least 2. I know that for sure. There might have been that third one, and you'll see in the video, and like, it might have been 3, and I fucking forgot about the third one because it's like I vividly remember the 2 that I was on the President's Honor Roll at WSU. And like, you don't find that in Google, but you find Kathryn Esselbach in Google, the fucking German bitch. And like, it's no coincidence. They did that to make her seem like, oh, we weren't giving her undeserved good grades. Look, she's really good. But it's like, why on earth wouldn't mine be Googleable too? Why would you be hiding one person's records and, like publicizing the other person's? Like, you're obviously trying to propagandize the audience. You're trying to make them think something different than what really happened. Why wouldn't you just show them all? Okay. Please Google an article called Great Ideas, Strong Work Ethic in Pursuing MBA. It is a great example of WSU propagandizing because they try to explain away Kathryn Esselbach's educational opportunities / funding because of her race, and they were obviously hinting that Kathryn Esselbach thought of some part of the methodical frame, which she obviously did not. She participated, but she didn't invent any part of that. The ideas part is explained away more in the dividend article. Article was still bullshit. So yeah, look up that article. It's a great example of their kind of their propaganda. Like, it's so obvious that they were trying to make it like hint at it like, oh, she thought of some part of it. It's an obvious methodical conspiracy. They'd clearly done it before. It was way too complicated, and they knew what to do in advance every step of the way. They knew every single thing. They were pulling out old reliable, like the old frame. And there's even in the Butterfield recordings, you can hear that he was talking in a way like it had been done before. And Katie Joshi said it even more clearly. Like she was talking in a way where she was explicitly stating that it had been done before. But Kenneth Butterfield too, he was saying things that let you know that they had clearly been done before. They were pulling out old reliable. It wasn't like something they were inventing as they were going. Or Kathryn Esselbach's like, I got an idea. It's like, no, dude, they were fucking telling her. She might have been voting for it and saying, yeah, do that or something. But like they were going to do it either way, no matter what she would have said. Like, because she worked in the same office as Cheryl Oliver. So they were talking hella, I'm sure. But the reality is that, like, in the same office as Yoshio Smith and Laura Tomley. But, like, it's not like she thought of anything. Like, she was probably just like, yeah, cool. Okay, so look at this video. Now, this is funny. Okay, look at this video showing that the Nethercutt Foundation was hidden for Kathryn Esselbach. That was an element of my 2011 federal lawsuit complaint, which is why WSU propagandizes so much to cover it up. Yeah, so they announced that scholarship like a year before during orientation, and then it was so like I think everybody thought it was weird. Like, why are they announcing it now? Who the fuck is going to apply? And then, like, not long after, they sent out this email. Yoshio Smith sent out this fucking email where they were saying like, oh, we're not taking any graduate students. And then like, it was like, I think it was like right after fucking the holiday, like Kathryn Esselbach stated on Facebook, and I was new to, here's the thing, and it's so lucky. I was new to Facebook. I started Facebook in 2009. So I had that setting on Facebook where it's like, oh, email me when there's like anything. And like it emailed me. And I still have the fucking email where Kathryn Esselbach was like, hey, look what I got. I got the fucking Nethercutt Foundation shit. And I still have the email where they announced that nobody was going to get it. So what they did was like, they announced it in front of us. Then they must have told Kathryn Esselbach, hey, apply. You'll get it. We'll hide it for you. And then they sent an email to stop everyone else from applying. Because who the fuck was going to apply a year in advance? They must have pulled her aside and said, you apply, and then we'll tell everybody not to fucking apply. And she knew about that email, dude. So how the fuck would like she ever explain that away? Like, she clearly knew that they hid it for her, which was illegal. And she just had this big shit-eating grin on her face when she's in the picture with that fucking cocksucker George Nethercutt. She knew that that was illegal for her. She may not have known it was racist at that time, but she did know that it was fucking hid for her, and she just smiled like a bitch and didn't do anything. I would never do that. No matter what was behind it, even if I didn't know what was going on, if they had hid a scholarship illegally for me, I would have said something to the other students. I would have been like, dude, these people are dirty as fuck. They're trying to like act like everyone can apply to shit, and they're trying to tell me that they're about to just only give it to me and lie to everybody and get them to not apply so they can discriminate against you and give me something. And it's like, whether you believe it or not, dude, I would honestly do that. I would never fucking let people play dirty and discriminate like that. Whatever was going on behind it, because she didn't know at that time, I'm sure. Okay, anyway. So let's get to magic. So that took 37 and a half minutes. I'm sorry. That took a long time. I'm sorry, but it had to be done. I had to fucking go through that information so you understand what is going on, why they were doing this, and what really they're putting in those magic cards to kind of allude to this situation. So let's talk about magic real quick. Before showing the magic cards and talking about magic even more. Okay, so I played Magic the Gathering for 2 years as a kid. And I grew up in the Seattle area. It's like Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast is in Renton, which I was born in Bellevue, raised in Redmond. Like it's like a 25 minute drive away. I spent a lot of time in Renton just throughout my life, whether it was teen years or 20s. But anyway, played Magic the Gathering for 2 years as a kid, 1 year online at 24, and then 4 years of paper Magic again, like my kid years, along with playing online as well. And that took place from 25 to 29. Now, look at my collection. I'm going to show my collection on the screen here and flash through the cards here, showing you what my collection was. I was clearly a very good player and someone who played in tournaments. And I had a collection where I know people in Fake Snitching Gang, and let me pause for a second. Fake Snitching Gang is what I call the people who originally framed me, as well as the people who've added on over the years because they just want to bully me and help cover up the frame, because they're just assholes. They have like a personal grudge with me, or they just like to bully people, or they're looking for attention and they just want to get involved in something and they're sadistic assholes, or all the above. But anyway, you look at my collection, and I know my Magic players out there, my real Magic players, you can tell that like it's the collection of a good player. Now, I know Fake Snitching Gang is going to be like, oh, you can't tell that just from the collection, but it's like, you can't. I mean, I was clearly a dedicated tournament player. I had a lot of good cards for EDH, and it was also like it's like the specific cards I was buying. It's like, okay, if you were to go into an empty house and you came across this Magic collection, you're like, whoa, this guy plays Magic. And you looked at those cards, you wouldn't just say, oh, he doesn't just play Magic. This is a serious tournament player. This guy's serious. And look at his cards for EDH. Like, this guy took competitive stuff seriously. And EDH, some people would argue, isn't competitive. But even that, I took to the fucking highest levels I could. And I would have gone even further if I hadn't have been harassed out and just had to leave. But anyway, now, on this same YouTube channel, there's another video where I was selling a guitar at the time, and the guitar was on my bed, and it's the same bed sheet from my Magic collection. It's the same bed sheet. That's my fucking collection. And I'll show you, so look at that video on the same YouTube account. I'll make it public. It was public before then. I made it private after the sale had already been made, but I'll make it public again so you see the bed sheet. Now, look at these emails of the sales of the collections. But anyway, yeah, I was clearly a good player. And I got second place in the August 2014 TCG Player Modern State Championship for the state of Washington. And I did that on minimum wage, okay? You think okay, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm better than you. I'm just saying, hey, I don't know how good you are. Maybe you're a pro, maybe you're just starting. I don't know where you're at. But if you can get second place in a state championship of Modern Constructed on minimum wage with a bunch of life problems, if you can do that, and like, let me know. Like, it is very fucking hard, especially like the guy who got first, he had a good career. He made a lot more money than me. It was easier for him. I did it without Tarmogoyfs. I had a Jeskai aggro deck. But actually that second place, that was what prompted me to buy Tarmogoyfs. So I was like, this is it. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And I saved up and I spent $700 because they were expensive at the time to get Tarmogoyfs. But that was what it was, because the guy who got first, I could tell he wasn't even as good at me. He wasn't even as good as me at Magic. And he just won because he had a more expensive deck. He had an Abzan deck with, everything in it, like Tarmogoyfs, Liliana, Bobs. Actually, I don't know if, I'm trying to think, he might not have played the Bob version because Siege Rhino had just come out at that time and he was playing Siege Rhino. I think he was playing, yeah, he was playing Siege. I think he was playing Siege. No, wait. He wasn't playing Siege Rhino. Yeah, I don't think he was playing Siege Rhino actually, because I don't believe Flooded Strand was out and Siege Rhino came out in that same block, I believe. Okay. I don't think he was playing Siege Rhino because that came out that wasn't in 2014. Was it? August 2014. Wouldn't it have come out after that? Anyway, whatever. Like, he was playing Abzan. Now that I think about it, I don't think he was playing Siege Rhino. He might have been, but he might have been playing the Bob version without Siege Rhino because they might not have come out at that time. This is a long time ago, and it's like that didn't really matter to me whether he was Abzan versus Jund. What mattered to me was that I could tell he just wasn't that good. Like, he was good, but he wasn't like that good. Like, he was like calling the judge over. He thought he could Scavenging Ooze the same thing and get multiple counters on it. And it was like, no, you can activate it as much as you want. It'll go on the stack. Only the top thing on the stack will resolve, giving you the +1 counter, and the gain 1 life, but everything else will just like fizzle because it doesn't have a target now as it goes down through the stack. You can activate it all you want, but you're only going to get 1. And it wasn't like, long story, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it wasn't like he wasn't like trying to trick me like, oh, is this how it works? Like, no, he honestly was, and we were in the finals, like there was people watching. He wouldn't have tried that in the finals. He wasn't trying to like trick me. We were in the finals, so he wasn't going to try that. And he was like calling over a judge because there was like people watching, but there was like not always a judge paying attention though. And like he called the person over to like ask about that. And it was like he clearly wasn't really that good. He just had money and was like kind of good. Which is like, that's probably like fucked up to say about him, but I have to say it. I can't just like not say it. Anyway, okay, second place state championship on minimum wage and modern constructed. Anyways, I got in a top 16. I got 11th in another tournament about 400 people. Okay, I'm not bragging. I'm trying to explain why they were going after me. They were like, okay, this is becoming a real opportunity for him. I have to say, like, I was good, and I likely would have gone pro if I just continued on the same path. Now, anyway, but that's why they attacked me. That's the only reason I'm explaining this. I'm not trying to be, like, all cool about it. I'm just telling you the truth here. Okay. I forgot the name of that tournament because it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. It was a long time ago also. WOTC harassed me out of the game, which is the coast people call WOTC. WOTC harassed me out of the game because I was getting there and likely would have gone pro if I kept continuing on the same path. I had to sell my entire collection and leave the game because of what I'm about to show you. And honestly, it brought up like a lot of shit for me. Like when I was even just like looking through the pictures again of what my collection was, like how attached I was and like how deep I had gone in the game and with collecting, and to just have to lose it all after working so hard and dedicating, a portion of my life to it. It really was fucked up, and it really was shitty. And I kind of like block it out and just try and move on, but it's like, it was really shitty. What the fuck? That was somebody outside. It wasn't me, dog. That wasn't me. That was somebody outside in this library hallway, dog. Okay. So you can hear them. Yeah, see, it's not, whatever that fucking noise came from out there. Okay. Do you hear that? That's the person outside, not me. Okay. So I had to sell my entire collection and leave the game. TCG Player never posted the state championship tournament results, the deck lists, because they were covering up my accomplishment. Like Wizards must have been monitoring my DCI and then contacted TCG Players that don't post the deck list. And they didn't post for many states, but it was probably a cover-up strategy. Look at this email I sent to TCG Player about it not long after, in August of 2014. Now, no one would send that if they didn't actually achieve that. And notice how the employee was under the impression that they would, of course, post the results. And he never got back to me, which he said he would, and that's highly suspect. If they try to tear down this video just for showing you that email, you'll be further sure of their corruption. Because it says in the email, like, don't show it, but it's like, there's nothing in there that's like, would matter. It's like the only reason they would want to tear it down is to cover up what they did, which will just prove what I'm saying even more. But I don't find it far-fetched. They're pieces of shit. Okay. I'm gonna take a break, take a whiz, get some water, and then come back and show you the magic cards.